Hello and welcome to all of our Gold viewers who are here with us today. I'm Kristen Schwartz, licensed midwife and one of the MCs here at Gold. And today I have two guests with me. Today I have Indira Lopez-Bassols. Hi, Indira.
Hi.
Hello. Good to have you here. And then we also have Gayle Subramaniam. Hi, Gayle. It's good to have you as well.
Hi.
Wonderful to have you here. You are both presenting together, and your title of the presentation at the Gold Lactation Online Conference of 2025 is The Evidence-Based Research Parade, a clinical look at new research. I'm so excited about this. And before we get into that topic about research, first I want to hear a little bit about you. I'll start with you, Indira. Give us a little background information on your work and professional background.
Thank you. Thank you for that introduction. So I work as a international board certified lactation consultant and have done almost for 15 years. I'm about to reaccredit for my third time and have three branches. I work as a clinician. I lead a clinic for specialist breastfeeding complex cases in the NHS in London. I teach for our Center for Breastfeeding Education and Research. And the last thing that I do is I'm working on a PhD at the University of Dundee, and I'm actually looking at how to best educate healthcare providers in terms of breastfeeding. So those are the three main areas that I work in.
Three areas that keep you very busy, I can imagine.
Indeed.
And now to you, Gayle.
I'm also an IBCLC, and I work in private practice and I work in the National Health Service here in the UK. I'm also a teacher on the Art and Science of Breastfeeding course, which is something I really enjoy, the teaching side of things. And then I have another hat, which is working with the Journal of Human Lactation as an editor, and also working with publishing research, although that's been a little bit quieter recently with being everything that you've got to juggle in life. But that's also a real passion of mine, and kind of is a nice bringing together of my skills from a previous life as well, because before I trained as an IBCLC, I worked in research in a completely unrelated area. And I really enjoyed that and built up a good amount of, lots of skills that I've been able to transfer to the field of lactation and the work in research there.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. Yes, the research, right? That's, that's also the topic here of your presentation, the Evidence-Based Research Parade, a critical look at new research. And we all know how important research is, right? This is the evidence-based, if we want to practice evidence-based care, which is, that's what we're looking at. And, but also it is sometimes not easy to stay up to date. There's so much research coming out, right? And many of our IBCLCs are not academic. So what strategies do you recommend for making research more approachable, or for IBCLCs who want to get a little bit more into research, but it's they feel like, where do I start? So who wants to start with this one?
Go ahead, Gayle.
Look, I think the first thing I would say is don't be intimidated. Research is everywhere. It's part of all parts of our life, not just in the work that we do with supporting families, but in the news headlines that we see, in the government policies that we have, in our children's education, in our healthcare system, everything. It's all around us. And I think people are, like you say, they are intimidated. People think, oh, reading research is just for academics. They use these funny words and these statistics that I don't understand, and it's just too much. But actually, the best thing to do is just read it. And the more that you read and the more exposure that you get to it, the more comfortable you'll start to feel. And there are some, there are some tips and tricks that you can learn that we're going to share with you in our presentation. Practical things that you can implement. What are the red flags to look out for? What are the key things that you need to see in a research report so that you can read it and then realize, actually, is this research reliable? Because there's quite a lot of research out there and not all of it's reliable.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is it. This is another thing, like, and I feel like this is a question I have also for you, Indira. When we look at research, there might be some misconceptions, about reading and applying research. Can you talk to me a little bit about that one?
Yeah, I think it's a very good question. And as Gayle just said, come to our session because we are going to look at it in a very systematic way, in a very methodical way. How do we critically look and analyze to the detail everything? And it can be from funding. Who's funding this research, right? A WHO code violator. And you read these papers, and I read one not long ago, and I was really impressed. And then I came to the end, and it turned out it was a WHO code violator. So, it's learning to dissect. You're really dissecting a paper and seeing all the parts to understand. And then you can really say, well, this is a robust paper. We should look at how it can influence and change policy. But, it takes, I remember in the Journal of Human Lactation reading an article or somewhere, it takes 18 years for research to actually be applied to changes. It takes a long, long time. So anyway, the other thing I'll say, just as a last thing, is we've put together a research hub that is once a month, every first Wednesday of the month. And it's a place where we pick a current article, and all you have to do is read it and come along. And all you need is to be interested in infant feeding, because that's what we're discussing. We're discussing late, interesting, juicy papers. So all you have to is come up and we discuss it as a group. And as Gayle just said, you don't have to be in academia or hold a PhD to learn more. And we need it. It's really important to ask clinicians, busy clinicians. We don't have time to read the articles, and yet everything is changing. So come to our session. We're going to present a couple systematic reviews and other papers that are just for us, IBCLC, to be at the forefront of what's new.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much. Also, thank you for sharing that research resource there about the Research Hub. Where can we find you there on the website?
So our website is the cyber, Gayle, remind me, because it's new. .org.
That's it. Yep. It's the CBER.org. And it stands for the Center for Breastfeeding Education and Research.org.
Beautiful. Thank you. And that will make it easier for lactation care providers to go, and learn about research and follow along. That's wonderful. And you mentioned, Indira, that was very interesting too, how long it takes for research to get into practice, right? But everything is so fast moving in our society, especially with social media. Have you looked at that as well? What kind of influence social media has with regards to research and such? Or Gayle, do you want to say something about that?
Yeah, look, I think that's where it's important to be comfortable and learn some of those tools that we are going to be discussing in the presentation, because there's lots of false headlines out there. There's lots of false claims or overstated claims that grab headlines and make great viral feeds, and that's how misinformation gets spread. So if you see a headline like that and you're shocked by it, you think, oh, wow, I can't believe that piece of research is showing this incredible thing. Go and read the report for yourself, because maybe they're overstating the claims. Or maybe, as Indira said, it's funded by someone who has a real bias in the outcomes. So yeah, absolutely. Social media is a big part of all of our lives now, and can't be ignored. And that digital technologies is one of the topics that we'll be touching on in some of the new research that's come out as well.
Beautiful. Thank you for answering that question. Now, before I let you two go here, my last question is, and I'll start with Indira, give us a last little piece of nugget of advice to our viewers here with regards to the topic.
Read some research. Don't be intimidated. It takes practice. And I'll just share maybe a little story. I started reading the Journal of Human Lactation maybe 15 years ago. And then I had all these very interesting clinical cases. And I decided one day, I went to an ILCA conference, how to write a paper. And I came out of that saying, oh, maybe I can write a paper. And I've published then 2 clinical cases in the Journal of Human Lactation. I was not doing my PhD then, but I had interesting cases. Everybody has an interesting cases. This is a brand new field. There's so much. So all you need is that passion, which we all have, and start by reading, and then, you might end up publishing one day soon.
That would be fantastic. We need more research. We need more, published also by IBCLCs, really from the people in the field who are out there doing it. And Gayle, what is your little piece of wisdom here for us?
I'd say release your inner child. Keep asking why when you read these reports. Why was this research carried out? Why were those subjects chosen? Why were these conclusions reached? Why was it being funded or not funded? Why, just ask why for everything. Question everything.
Question everything. Well, thank you so much to the two of you. It was an absolute pleasure having you here today and talking about the wonderful work you're doing out there in your field, in your community, and also about the great presentation that you have planned for us here for the Gold Lactation Online Conference. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And now some information for our viewers, of course, if you are curious about this presentation, and I know you are because this is going to be fantastic, we invite you to go to goldlactation.com to find out more about this presentation and all the other fantastic presentations in the conference. We have our live keynote, open access keynote presentation coming up here on April 1st. This is open access to everyone. Also, you can find that information at goldlactation.com. Make sure you share that with your friends and colleagues in the field. And I hope to see everyone at the conference. Thank you so much for watching and have a lovely rest of your day. Bye-bye, everyone.